Hey all, Grollo here. There's been a small burst of activity from CIG over the past few days. Yesterday they released another episode of Inside Star Citizen titled Strategic Reserves, and they have updated the roadmap, which I've been waiting for. This is the far more important of the two. Why are roadmaps so important? They're the North Star for any engineering team. It's the closest thing we've got to a crystal ball. And teams I lead, well, first of all, we always have a roadmap. Not everybody does. A clear outline of what we're working toward. Ideally, it stretches 5 years out or more. I don't plan by the quarter. They can shove that ass. Second of all, we check in on the roadmap monthly. Is that excessive? No. Y'all may be familiar with daily stand-ups. A monthly roadmap check-in is more important than all of those for the month. It's so important to connect people's work to the overarching plan, to the long-term value. You don't want people feeling disconnected from the mission, and you don't want efforts being wasted, right? So this helps ensure all of that. Okay. I'll get off the soapbox. And in case you missed it, I just dropped another deep dive on a more stable universe, the ISC they did on that, based on one of the viewers' questions around loading without loading screens. So if you like those technical deep dives that we do on this channel and you missed it, go check it out if you're interested. All right. So we're going to watch this ISC, then we're going to go spend a little bit of time talking about the roadmap and the updates they made to it. I'll put a chapter marker below in case you want to skip one or the other. So let's roll it.
Are you happy with yourself?
Over the moon. Ecstatic with myself.
Their armor was the same with a color difference. There was a mission where we told you to go kill slicer supplies that was the exact same when we told you to go kill frontier fighter supplies.
The data pads I placed around Stanton as well, telling you, giving you hints that maybe something was going on. I think this is a great kind of PSA to read your contracts from now on. Maybe I hid them a little too well. Sorry. By now, you will have realized that the Frontier Fighters weren't exactly who they said they were. Or, in other cases, they were exactly who they said they were.
Frontier Fighters were specifically designed to show players that we can mess with their morals via this narrative storytelling.
Frontier Fighters were the ones who staged the attack on Stanton, posing as slicers to cause an uproar about Pyro, to stage a war on Pyro to get rid of the criminal gangs that are there.
It was a band of mercenaries led by a woman called Amelia who wanted to start an attack in Stanton to drum up hate for Pyro so that she could get the backing of regular people to go and attack Pyro.
But
are your morals called into question?
That also included civilians, and that also included gangs who had no interest in threatening Stanton at all.
So this was a false flag operation?
Yes, this was a false flag operation.
And you fell for it. You fell for it.
They fell for it.
They fell for it.
But you named it Maniac after yourself.
I didn't do that. Haddock did that.
So our next chapter in March is called Supply or Die. This is split into 3 parts of the event. This is where the CFP and the Headhunters are coming off half the heels of the invasion of the Frontier Fighters, and they're trying to resupply and rebuild to continue the efforts of attacking the Frontier Fighters. This event is essentially a one-shot. You have to play it in March, and when the next patch drops after that, you won't be able to play it again or earn rewards. With this narrative arc that we're doing for the rest of this year, we're really trying to build these moments in our history where you as the player will come in and experience it, and then if you was here for it, great. But if you wasn't, you've missed out.
For this event, there are 6 new locations that we built, 1 on each of the major planets in Pyro. These locations are discoverable by quantum marker, and at these locations you will find these outlaw depots. The difference between an outpost and a depot is that an outpost is generally a lot larger in size. There's various things to do at an outpost. It's like a little community that kind of is in one way or another self-sufficient. A depot is really just an offshoot storage location. So in that sense, it doesn't have all the amenities for a local population or for the player as well. It's more of like an offshoot location in that sense.
I gotta be honest, like, I've said this before, like, I'm not here for the mission content. Like, I haven't even done the missions that they're talking about where your morals are called into question for a couple reasons. One, like, I'm not interested in the PvE content all that much. Let me take that back. I like PvE content, like sandbox PvE content, like going out and mining, the industrial loops. I love all that. I'm not really into like the mission content, like, oh, give me a quest and I'm gonna go do this quest. Like, that's not why I'm here. I appreciate that this stuff's in the game. I know there's a lot of players that are gonna enjoy this stuff. Not my cup of tea, so I hard pass. The other reason, I probably would do it just because it's some content in the game that we don't have a whole lot of yet, if the playability didn't get in the way. So maybe as they iterate on playability and things become more stable this year, maybe I will dabble a little bit more in some of this stuff. But like combined with, I'm not that interested to begin with, and the few times I have tried it, like it's bugged out, like a mission didn't freaking work for some reason. Like all of that just has me like hard passing on this stuff. But these locations and stuff that they're showing, like I do like this kind of stuff. I love being on a planet and just running across a place like this. So the fact that like these locations can serve as mission destinations, but they could also serve as just kind of like random stuff you run across as you are engaging in the sandbox. That part I like. So this stuff has two streams of value at least.
The depots see the return of the scavengers, the circus essentially that was introduced with the ghost arenas.
So this is not a faction we've seen much about, but it's a faction that we can identify by green text and spray paints on the buildings.
So as you go around the environment, you'll see that they've tagged it, and they'll be saying you can get big money here and go here and go here. This is where you buy it. Look out here, take cover here. The location is one that they've taken over, and they've added their unique twist to.
Okay.
The outlaw depots, I think, are really cool from a player perspective through the way that it's a location that is really built for the interaction. It provides a lot of cover. It's located in a more convenient, accessible way. It has very clear, distinct sections, so that helps hopefully as well for the players to kind of call out where the different people are coming from or where they are located. So it's a high-risk, high-reward location that is really built for PvP. There is an initial population at the location, so if you're the first there to show up, you might be a little bit careful. If you're gonna land in the middle, might be a little bit hot, but that's the right challenge that we're trying to provide for you guys.
And that's why I mean, like, it's the fact that this stuff is not super interesting to me. It is not even PvE centric. Like I said, I love a lot of the PvE game loops, but even the PvP stuff, like when it feels kind of forced and like, oh, go here and participate in PvP, like, I mean, I'll do it for fun here and there, but like, it's not like something that's gonna draw me in repetitively. You know what I mean? Like a WoW battleground. I'm not here for that type of thing. Now, if we're fighting over resources or territory ownership or something like that, I'm all in.
One of the first missions requires you to get a commodity called Death Tree, and there's a mission for CFP and Headhunters. This commodity requires you to go to these depots where you have to invest your own money to get this data tree and return it to either faction that you decided to go with. Datatrine is a rare plant that they can refine, so the CFP can use it for medical purposes, and the Headhunters can use it for more fun purposes.
Elliot came over to the economy area and said, hey, I've got some new missions we're building, and they're a little bit different from some we've done before. So we worked together to come up with a fairly new reward structure specifically for these new missions.
The idea as well is that if you've completed this mission series and you've got your reward, you can just keep going. You can sell these commodities in the sandbox world and get quite a big profit margin. But again, your risk is you have to put up your own money, put in your own time, and risk your own life. For the mining mission, again, both factions will require you to get 2 commodities. So they require you to get ice, which can be found on the extremities of the Pyro solar system, so as far out from the sun as you can where it gets colder. Or tin, which is found closer to the sun, that can be stolen, bought, or mined and refined yourself. However you wish to get these, they don't care, they just want the commodity. And then you'll have a destination where you're asked to drop them off. And last is the salvage mission. The salvage mission is asking for RMC, so that's hull scraping, or construction materials, so that's the actual structural salvage part where you have to fracture the ship. And again, both factions are asking for it and they both have their own drop-off points. How you get the salvage is, again, up to you. You can kill ships and harvest their corpse. You could accept the salvage missions and use those ships, or you could just fly about and attempt to find the salvage panels.
That's cool. So if there are going to be missions and that type of stuff, I love that they're as open-ended as possible. Like, here's what we want, go figure out how to get it. I appreciate that a lot.
The event is both PvP and PvE. It takes place in Pyro, so you've always got to have your wits about you. The Detatrine one that takes place at the outposts will have more of a PvP element because it's going to have more reward for people who are PvPing. The mining and salvage one are introduced for more industrial players, more PvE. There's not much you really need to do here PvP-wise, but again, you're in Pyro, keep your wits about you, because you never know who's going to turn up.
The thing that's unusual about these missions is that they're designed to encourage group play. There's nothing stopping you doing it solo. You can absolutely do it solo, although obviously in Pyro you have to take appropriate precautions if you're playing solo. But each of these missions, if you can get together a group of friends to help out, you will probably find that it will be more successful.
Did you unfix that terrible fix that you did last patch?
The initial design of EVR has been fairly successful, but it definitely has areas it needs to be improved with, and one of those areas is enabling group play instead of suppressing group play. And the design intention is to move away from reward splitting.
Thank you.
So with that in mind,
okay, one thing that would get me to participate in mission gameplay more is this. I forgot to even mention this, but another thing that has held me back is the fact that, like, we've been penalized for grouping up. Like, I don't play MMOs to play by myself. Like, we have a great group of people over at Luminous, and I like to do things with them. And the fact that, like, if you go on a mission, like, the incentives weren't there. Like, it was more rewarding to just go by yourself. And so that was another detractor from me wanting to do this type of content. So if they fix this, it still won't be like, you know, jumping out of my skin joy, but I will definitely enjoy it more.
in mind, we're taking steps towards that, and these missions and the way that the rewards are structured for these missions is a good indication of that design intention.
Excellent.
So with all this, the mission reward system is changing, right?
The rewards that you will get will scale with the size of the group that we expect for each mission. So the small missions are designed for solo players, the medium missions are designed for around 4 to 5 to 6 players, and the large missions are designed for 10 and above players. And in subsequent patches, the rewards will scale dynamically to the group that you have. And depending on the mission type that you're doing, whether it's the salvage or the mining or the detatrine, your rewards will scale accordingly. Bear in mind that for the detatrine missions, you have to put up the money to buy the commodity, and you will be rewarded enough to compensate you for what you've bought and a little bit extra. The other thing to bear in mind is that all of these missions have a secondary reward mechanic, which is that you are working to get tickets so that you can get the unique rewards, which you can only get during this mission, during this month, and then they will never be offered again.
It's like the redemption at Chuck E. Cheese.
I mean, they've been doing that all along.
I don't understand the reference, but okay.
I'm an American lost in Britain.
Oh. No Chuck E. Cheese's in Britain? Oh my god.
Why does this matter?
Uncultured.
With our plans for this whole year of more of a content-driven releases and more of a narrative storyline, as Dave previously talked about with the A and B stories, the idea is that these missions will tie into that. The side that you choose to work with will have a lasting impact. The choices you make will define the universe that you live in. And the really cool thing about Supply or Die is because of the 3 different mission types we offer you, you can get all of the rewards without ever firing a shot. And that's really exciting.
That's interesting.
And as one chapter of the continuing fight for Pyro closes, another begins with Alpha 402 Supply or Die. But if you didn't get a chance to finish the February missions, we've extended them through to the end of March, so there's still time to choose your allegiances and secure the future that Pyro deserves. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week on Star Citizen Live.
All right. I don't know. Should I try to go back and get it done? I don't know. We'll see. Last time I tried it just was not going well. Not from like a failure standpoint, but just from a playability standpoint. So I don't know. Maybe I'll go back and give it another shot. By far, the most exciting part of that video was just the work going into making missions scale in such a way that I incentivize group play. I think that's been a huge impediment to like organizations enjoying group plays. So can't wait to see what that looks like. Definitely be checking that out as soon as we can. All right. So with that, let's go check out the roadmap. They put out this roadmap roundup doc a few days back, which goes over kind of the changes of note on the roadmap and the various columns they've introduced. They start this thing off by saying, as we emphasized in the letter from the chairman and throughout our messaging this year, like I said, the messaging has gotten a lot more consistent, and it definitely connects to the actions we're seeing. So this is good. Our top priority for 2025 is improving playability. Yes, we know that, and we know that there is going to be a cost to that, which is features. A key part of this effort is refining how we manage feature development, with features now being developed in a separate branch and only migrating over when they are ready. Makes sense. So we're not going to see new features in their kind of raw forms as often as we used to. This makes sense from a playability standpoint. In a recent episode, blah, 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 we share our commitment to delivering more content patches more frequently. Yeah, we know we're going to be seeing more content. That's what that whole video we just watched was about. All content. Because these updates are highly narrative driven, we've adjusted how they appear in the release view to avoid spoilers. Okay, makes sense. This was, I'm not going to read all this, but as a reminder, the 1.0 column represents features and content planned for Star Citizen 1.0. However, this doesn't mean you'll have to wait until the full release to experience them either. It serves as a snapshot of the experience you can expect. As features and content from this column are ready, they will shift left into the point patch column, preparing for release. This is really important for people to understand. Maybe not everybody gets this, but when I went on my soapbox earlier about a roadmap is a North Star. It is like the point you are trying to get to as you dig through the daily trenches, right? Like it is as complete a picture as you can muster at the time, and it's not going to be all inclusive. There's like, it would take far too long to like spell out every little detail and nuance on your final roadmap, but it's going to broad stroke brush capture where you're going, right? And so there's going to be other work that happens along the way that is not on the 1.0 roadmap. Don't get Don't get all in a tizzy and being like, oh, scope creep. No, there's going to be other stuff that pops up and emerges on the way because you're like, oh yeah, in order to get there, we're going to need to do this. Not all that has been mapped out yet. However, definitely like, and a roadmap may capture like relatively like the order of things. Like it may say, you know, we have to do this before we do this. That type of stuff may be in a roadmap, but you're not going to have like dates. And like ETA is on a roadmap. Like the roadmap is too high level for that. That's where like quarterly planning, yearly planning, all that stuff makes a lot more sense. You don't want to like assign dates to 5 years worth of work, but you do want to assign it to the next month's worth of work, right? And so like, you know, as CIG's monthly, weekly, quarterly planning moves along, like more of the stuff from the roadmap will definitely fall into these columns. And so all that makes sense. It all matches everything I've ever done. So moving ahead to the notable changes, you know, they're calling out mission givers, mission giver locations, new armor sets, space combat missions, some new weapons. These sound cool. The Parallax and the SMG Quartz by Volt. New mining station. I've seen pictures of this already. This thing looks awesome, as well as the ground alignment stations. One of the things they say here, redacted sandbox activity. A new open-ended activity blending on-foot exploration with aerial support, creating sandbox gameplay opportunities for daring teams. This seems like an oxymoron to me, like, but I'm withholding judgment until I see exactly what it is. But when I hear like, hey, we're going to have objectives for sandbox, like those two things don't go together. Like to me, sandbox gameplay is all about the player getting in there. They just have a bunch of sand to work with and build things with and do things with and stake their claims in, put their flags in the ground and go to war over things and blah, blah, blah. Like that's kind of sandbox gameplay to me. That really emergent, like player defined stuff. As soon as you say, oh, here's an objective for sandbox gameplay, like it's not really a sandbox anymore. It's more like a battleground or something. But I could be mistaken. You know, we'll see what it looks like. Maybe it's like a new type of resource or a new type of something that we can go in and extract and take back to do the things that we want to do with it. You know, like an asteroid belt is definitely a component of sandbox gameplay, as are like resource clusters on planets or forests that we can chop down or you know, whatever. So if it's along those lines, maybe data driven. I know like data stuff's in the works. Yeah, maybe it could be. So it'll be interesting to see what that is and if it truly fits into the sandbox universe. Obviously, they get sandbox. So I don't know, a little thrown off by that one. But also these mining stations, I'm curious if these are just kind of things that fit into the new narrative for the stories and stuff they just talked about in the video we just watched. But even if that's the case, like it'll be cool to have these locations that we can come across in our more sandbox-oriented gameplay. Then it goes on to talk about additions to the 1.0 column, and I skimmed through this earlier, and this just all looks like stuff we were expecting to see in 4.0. The vast majority of it, all the stuff that just got ripped out in order for them to actually get server meshing and jump gates and all that stuff out the door last year. Quantum boost, misfire wear and tear, fire hazard, charge and drain, life support, engineering gameplay, the solar flare. I'm not sure about vehicle radar scanning rework or FPS radar scanning. Actually, yeah, I know FPS radar scanning was on the list. All of that stuff was originally slated for last year, so it makes sense that all this is just going on to the 1.0 someday roadmap now. Again, because we are emphasizing playability, a lot of this stuff is going to get deferred even longer than we anticipated, because you know all of the resources are going to fixing all those bugs that are plaguing us right now. So we'll see when this stuff actually makes it into the game, but it seems to me they're signaling it's not going to be anytime super soon. Hangar upgrades. This sounded new to me. This definitely did not sound like it was really like I don't recall this from being on the docket for last year or anything like that. So being able to customize our hangars and stuff like that, that sounds very cool. Weapon hurry, that was on there. Radiation, I can't remember, but that'd be cool. And then repair missions, that was definitely something that we had heard about. So yeah, cool to see all of that going on there. Nothing really super surprising here. It all kind of lines up to my earlier comments about like the communications matching and connecting to the actions. Like this is just more of that in my mind. Now looking at the release view, all of this kind of matches. The supplier die, which is the video we just talked about, matches. The 4.1 stuff is what we just talked about in the roadmap roundup, with the new combat missions, the new sandbox activity. Eager to see what that is going to be. And then, yeah, the new mining station, all that stuff, as well as all the new stuff they mentioned for the Star Citizen 1.0. The progress tracker is interesting because it does show things like base building, charge and drain, which they mentioned, but base building and crafting are definitely look like they are still in progress. Like these have not been completely pushed to the back burner and put on hold, as well as some of the other things, you know, they are keeping on the 1.0 roadmap. The end times that they have on here, definitely like within this year, which aligns with, if you go back and check out, or if you've already seen it, my 2025 predictions, like I did predict in 2025 that we would definitely see some limited form of base building. I still expect it to be very limited this year. I'm still predicting something along the lines of like a habitat placement by the end of the year. But even that really will open the door for a lot more stuff in 2026. And so they're showing base building wrapping up around November. Now, again, remember that this is the work wrapping up. That doesn't mean it'll be fully delivered. But if it's wrapping up by the end of October, it wouldn't surprise me if we see, like, again, something like habitat placement in December. And this has crafting wrapping up at the end of August. Now, I would expect delays and all that stuff. I wouldn't hold them to these estimates. They're just estimates, but yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see. Also, engineering gameplay, for example, I think we are not seeing anything engineering related or life support related. I don't see any of that none of that's in the 4.1 column. That's still all in the 1.0 column, so it's not making its way into the 4.1 column yet. The 4.1 column is saying tentative for Q1, Q2. Q2 runs through June. And so they're not listing engineering, life support, fire hazards. They're not listing that stuff as tentative for June yet. That's not to say that it couldn't make its way left from the 1.0 column by then, even though in the progress tracker, they do show engineering wrapping up by June. It's not yet on the June delivery schedule, which goes to my earlier point around, these are kind of work complete. It's, engineering complete, programming complete, whatever you want to call it. There's still going to be integration work, testing work, QA work that follows that. And again, like they said earlier in the note, they're changing the way they deliver these things. We're not going to see them in their raw form like we used to as much. And so I would expect the kind of gap between like work complete, programming complete, and integration into the universe to be much longer than it has been in the past. So it's very possible that something wrapping up at the start of June, we may not see till Q4 in the new feature delivery model. So yeah, we very well, it would not surprise me if we don't see engineering, fire, that type of stuff until closer to the end of the year, which actually goes against my earlier point on crafting and base building. Will my predictions be wrong? If they show work wrapping up on these things, beginning of September, beginning of November, yeah, it could definitely be. It would not surprise me if these weren't delivered until 2026, which would definitely be even longer than I estimated at the beginning of the year. But again, like I said, we'll definitely circle back at the end of this year and see how those predictions held up. So, what do you think? What do you think about the progress tracker, the delivery timelines, the video we just watched? I would love to hear your thoughts on any and all of it. It's going to be an interesting year, as they pointed out in one of the ISCs or whatever type of episodes they did. You know, this is the first time CIG is operating in this mode, so I think it's going to be hard for us to predict how things unfold because we have not seen them operate in this mode. They're going to have to develop some new methods of planning, ways of thinking, all that stuff internally, kind of build their muscle and their rhythm for working this way. So I would expect them to be doing that throughout this year and maybe hitting their stride later this year, heading in the next. And yeah, I would expect to see things slowly improve from a cadence perspective. Anyway, that's all I got. Would love to hear your thoughts, comments. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about the new content they're talking about? Are you excited about the new missions? Or are you more like me, where you're like, give me the sandbox? Anybody know anything about the new sandbox activity they're talking about? Am I blind to that? I know it's kind of redacted, but if anybody knows anything about it, I would love to hear more about that. Anything along those lines is super interesting to me. And I also like to know, like, if it is objective, is going to be some kind of objective that takes away from the sandbox element, or is it really going to fit in to the rest of how things are working in the sandbox side of the house? That's definitely an interesting follow-up for me. I'd love to hear anything you got. And anything else. Cool. Thanks for hanging in there with me and checking all this out. I will see you all on Monday with the look back at this week from the future. All right. Thanks all. Grollo out.